Okay, welcome back to another talk by myself and with a little help by my daughter. Tonight we're going to talk about facts and myths about science fiction movies. So there are many science fiction movies out there, and we could be talking for hours about their facts and myths. But we only have around 15-20 minutes, so I have made some choices here. We're going to be talking about spaceships and space travel, aliens and life beyond Earth, and catastrophes, and in particular asteroids and comet impacts, because these are always quite popular. Now, when it comes to space travel, obviously the real challenge, in fact, is that stars and therefore planets that are around them are very, very far away from each other. And so it will take a long time for us to get there. Even if you were able to go at the speed of light, which is the limit at which you could ever go, it will take you around 4.3 years, or light years in this case, to go to the closest star, Proxima Centauri. But as things stand now, with normal rockets and spaceship, it will take around 40,000 years, which is really a long time. And the trouble is that even if you had the technology to push your rocket faster and faster, getting closer to the speed of light will require higher and higher energies. In fact, the reason why you can't go at the speed of light is, if you want, also because it requires an infinite energy to go at the speed of light. And just pushing 1/10 to the speed of light will require the entire energy consumption of the year of Earth in 1 year. But there is a free source of energy out there, which is our sun. So one concept that is quite plausible, in fact, is to use solar sails. And here again we have on the left the Star Trek version and the Star Wars version. A solar sail, basically, as the word says, works like a sail, because light in space essentially works like a wind. It pushes away particles, and you could collect this momentum, this pressure, so-called radiation pressure, with the help of a sail. This has already been tried by the Japanese, who in fact sent a little solar sail to Venus, and NASA has now tried even these bigger kind of sails here that you could see. To go to a distant planet, you probably will need a much bigger sail to push a ship, a spaceship in this case. So with a sail the size of Texas, you could make it to Proxima Centauri in about a thousand years, which is still a long time. Now, if instead of pushing a spaceship with people on Earth, if you want to just push a very, very small miniaturized satellite, like this one shown here, with a solar sail of a few meters across, then if you were to push this not with the sunlight, but with gigantic laser beams from the ground, you could actually do it. And there is this...
I want to be in the desert.
What?
I want to be in the desert.
You want to be in a desert? Okay, one day we go to a desert. But this is a crazy project, and it's possible in this way. It could be possible in this way to go at 1/5, 20% the speed of light. So my first question to you, Morgana, is if you were to go at 1/5 the speed of light, how long would it take you to go to Proxima Centauri? 10 minutes? 4 months? 20 years? Or 100 years?
4 months.
4 months. I'm afraid that's the wrong answer. It will take you 20 years. Because as I said before, it takes 4 years to get there at the speed of light.
But why is it frozen?
What is frozen? Ah, the next slide. But wait, I'm not talking yet about this next slide, Morgana. Okay. So, but as I was saying, it will take you 20 years if you go at 1/5 the speed of light. So, another idea is to actually pack a bunch of people in a big ship and let them go there for 1,000 years, but it's not them who will arrive, but it will be their kids and the kids of their kids. So it's basically a generation ship where it's just people and their progenies that will arrive eventually to this planet. And this is a nice movie again, Pandorum, that shows that things can actually go wrong on this generation ships. And one thing that you have to make sure is that you have enough people on this generation ship. So my next question to you, Morgana, is how many people will you need on a generation ship to safely get to Proxima Centauri?
500.
500? Well, actually, it's not an option. Is it at 10, at least 100, more than 10,000, or a million? A million? Is that what you want to say? Actually, this is still a bit debated, but it's probably around between 100 and 10,000. The reason is that if you have, well, too many people, like you said, a million is not viable. You really need a very big ship for that, and we don't even think on how to build one for 10,000 yet. And if you only have few people, well, maybe those people will either go crazy or their kids will probably not be very healthy. There's another possibility, though, is that you could refuel as you go along. So you could have a ship that stop at a planet in between space, in between you and the other star, and you refuel. Okay, so you do island hopping, which is something that the Polynesian they did as they colonized the various islands of the Pacific Ocean over the space of a few centuries. So that's possible because we now know that there are planets that are not attached to any sun. They are free floating in interstellar space. So between one sun and another star, there could be one of these planets where we could stop and refuel. All right, so there's a way where we could go there, maybe not just ourselves, but our, kids and future children. But where will you go? Well, there are plenty of extrasolar planets out there that we have now discovered, these so-called exoplanets, and we have found over 4,000 of them, and some, are quite strange as well, and there could be even billions of them. So there's plenty of choice. And some actually are quite different from our Earth. We have in fact found a planet that have two suns, just like in Star Wars. That's taken from Star Wars, and this is Luke looking out there at the sunset of the two planets of his planet. And my question to you, Morgana, if you remember, we watched Star Wars. What was the name of the planet where the Star Wars saga began? Was it Alderaan, Tatooine, Bespin, or Coruscant? Coruscant. No, Morgana, the name was Tatooine. All right, so we go to a planet. Will there be life there? That's my next question to you. Yes, there's plenty of life out there. As long as there is water, we know that life can form pretty quickly. On our Earth, which is roughly 4 billion years old, life emerged pretty quickly, say after 400, almost a billion year, we already had life. But for most of the time of the Earth, life was in the form of just bacteria, little cells, and really the first plant only appeared in the last 500 million years. So if you think of the history of Earth as one day, then you will have plants appearing only at 11 in the evening. And if you want to wait for intelligent life, okay, so for humans, they only appear in the last few seconds of a day. So imagine going to a planet where you know that there is signs of life. Most of the time, you will end up finding only if you're lucky, plants or animals like dinosaurs, but it will be very difficult to find intelligent, beings because it takes a long time. At least that's what happened on Earth. So suddenly, instead of having billions of planets in the galaxy where potentially you could have life, you're probably reduced to just a bunch of planets in the whole galaxy where you could have life. So, most likely, what is going to happen, in my opinion, is that there are just a few places in the galaxy where you have life, and just hypothetically, I'm putting there as an idea that we have only the good guys on one side of the galaxy at a safe distance from the bad guys here. All right. So, my next question to you, Morgana, but also to everyone out there is, what's the name of the TV series where you have this evil lady? Was it called Space 1999? Was it Star Trek? Was it V for Visitors? Or was it Firefly? V.
V.
V for Visitor. You're right, Morgana. Yeah. So that was a nice TV series. So when we come to talking about alien invasions, which was the subject of this series, in fact, are we likely ever to see an alien invasion? Whereas I've discussed before, I think the way civilization are most likely to travel to space is again through generation ships or arc ships. Okay, so yes, I think the most likely scenarios is probably the Independence Day migrating species and invading scenario. That probably is not too far from reality, a possible reality, I would say. Now let's talk about threats. So that's clearly a threat, alien invasion, however unlikely. One threat that is much more likely, however, is that of asteroid impacts. And we know that because on Earth there has been several big asteroid impacts, and some of them could have been responsible for the major extinctions episode that happened on Earth. An extinction, Morgana, is when a lot of animals die all of a sudden. And so this graph shows you as a function of time, as you go from left to the right, you go from 440 million years to now, and you see the width of this graph shows you how much life there was at the time. And then you see that suddenly the width narrows down, and when you had a big extinction at the end of the Ordovician, then we had another one at the end of the Devonian, and
Poor
then
dinosaur.
yeah, and the poor dinosaurs, they died, at the end of the Cretaceous. So that's another reason for it. No, don't cry. For intelligence life to take long, because
But some animals are real.
yeah, some animals have survived, of course, because it could, because
Some dinosaurs are real.
yes, some dinosaurs are real, Morgana. Yes, we can probably see them in the movies. So as I was saying, this kind of catastrophes, in my opinion, also reduce further the possibility that you could find intelligent life if you go somewhere back in a distant planet. So talking about impacts, there's a very very famous movie which is Armageddon. Now there are quite many wrong things about this movie. Just to name two. First of all, in the movie, an asteroid the size of Texas is supposed to, come by surprise and fall on Earth. But an asteroid that size actually would be quite easy to spot nowadays. And in fact, you can even help finding asteroids even smaller than that by joining the Asteroid Zoo Hunter project, which is another of these citizen science projects. So if you just go on Galaxy Zoo website, then you could actually help finding asteroid using Hubble Space Telescope images. The other fact that is quite surprising is that Bruce Willis basically plants an atomic bomb a few meters inside the surface of this Texas-wide asteroid and managed to blow it up, which is really quite puzzling. But even if you did manage to blow up this asteroid, it will just make the problem bigger because you will just create more and more asteroids that will fall on Earth. So you will just make the problem more complicated. And so I'm gonna illustrate this by showing you a movie that shows an old game that I used to play, Morgana. And in the end, Bruce Willis will not be happy. So here we go. And besides, actually, asteroids could make you rich. So it's not a very good thing to, blow them up. You should try maybe to, you know, exploit them. Because many of these asteroids are rich in quite rare.
Once again, that game.
The game, we're gonna play it later. So, as I was saying, asteroids are pretty full of very rare metals such as platinum, nickel, and cobalt, or even iron. Iron is not very rare, but it's quite difficult to extract on Earth, so it's very expensive. Whereas this asteroid itself will be quite worth it just by itself. And the reason I'm saying this is because if you want to exploit this, then you have to go out in space and go in to mine these asteroids. Could be one good reason for us to go back in space again. But my last question to you, Morgana, is this big asteroid, which is called Amun 3554. How rich will it make you? How much is this asteroid worth it? $10 million, $5 billion, $20 trillion, or more than you can imagine?
More than I can imagine.
More than you can imagine. Oh, well, okay. You are like, well, you can imagine probably quite a bit. But the answer is 20 trillion. Yes, 20 trillion, which is not far away from the entire GDP of the Earth in 1 year, which is around 83 trillion, or is comparable to the value of the coal reserves of the USA in 1 year. So how would we get this asteroid and try to safely mine them? Well, the most plausible way is actually to go there and attach some satellite and rocket and try to tow them closer to Earth. And then when they're close to the Earth, then we can safely mine them slowly and steadily. And as I said, this is an exciting prospect because it's a rentable way to go back in space, and maybe that will be the way the exploration of the universe will start again.
I want to see that game again.